Hi guys, welcome to the final video in the Django and JavaScript tutorial series. So today we are going to create a live search, and I already created a video on this topic. However, that video was about Django and JavaScript itself. In this one, we are going to include Ajax. So let's actually take a look at what we are going to build. Over here, we have a form with a single input, and let's type something. We can search for games over here. So I'm going to type P, and we have The Witcher, GTA 5, and GTA San Andreas. And then I'm going to add H, and we only see The Witcher. And then I'm going to add another H, and we have no games found. And maybe if I add A, we see some games. So GTA 5, GTA San Andreas, FIFA 20, FIFA 21. But then if I, for example, type FIFA, we only see FIFAs. And then if I add 21, we only see 21. If we click on FIFA 21, we will be taken to the FIFA 21 detail page. And this is basically how this is working. So yeah, let's get started on this. Alright guys, so before we get started with coding, let's take a look at what have I done so far. So I started a brand new project called SearchProj, and currently I'm in the settings py file of this directory. So if we scroll down to the installed apps, we will notice the first change. I added games, so this is the application that I started for this project purposes, and here is the games folder, and we will dive into it very soon. Let's scroll down to the templates. Over here, we are telling Django where we are going to keep additional ones. And in our case, this is going to be the place where we will store our base HTML files. So the main template from which other templates will inherit. And then if we scroll all the way down, over here we have some settings for the static and media files. And those settings have been included in the URL patterns. And yeah, what do we have over here? We are telling Django in the static files, here's where we are going to keep our static files. So if we go to the static folder, I already created main.js and style CSS. And then in the media root, we are telling Django where do we want to upload the media files. And in our case, over here, we are going to store images representing the games. So we also have a media folder already created in the base directory, and here all the images will be uploaded and stored. All right. So now let's go to the static folder. Let's take a look at the main.js. Over here, we just have a simple console log with the hello world. And then if we go to the style CSS, we have some classes created. And I tried to use Bootstrap as much as possible. However, those classes will be helpful in some situations, so we will use them a little bit later on, and we will return to this file, okay? So right now what we need to do is to jump into base HTML, and over here we have get bootstrap CSS in the head, we have Jquery because we will be using the Jquery Ajax method. We have custom CSS and JS. So over here, we created our first block and we named it scripts. And here we will provide a script for the template that actually needs the script. So in our case, this is going to be the main HTML file. And we will link in the main HTML file this main.js file that you see in the static directory. In terms of all the templates, they will have this style CSS linked up, okay? It's already done over here. So in the base HTML file, we already have this style CSS linked up, and each template that will inherit from base HTML will have this style CSS available, okay? And then if we scroll down, we have a title. I just placed over here a search for games. I didn't add any block title, but feel free to do so if you want. And then in the body, we have a div class container with the margin top 3. And then we have the block content, okay? And then we also have get bootstrap.js bundle. So we are using bootstrap version 5. All right, guys, so I think this is it. And I think we are ready to get started. So let's jump into games and let's open up models.py file. Here, let's create a class, which we are going to name game. And this class will inherit from models.model. We will define 3 fields. The first one is going to be name, and this is going to be a models char field with the max length, and let's set it to 200, okay? Then we will have the studio, so who created this game. I'm just going to copy this field with the name, and here I'm just going to change the name to studio. All right, and then let's also have image, and this is going to be a models image field with the upload to, and let's put in images. Okay, so inside the media folder, we will have another folder called images, and over there we are going to store the images that we are going to upload. All right, so let's take care of the string representation method. In a second, we will install pillow because we are using image field, so we will return to this in a few seconds, but for now, let's take care of this string representation method, and let's return just str self name. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to register this class in the Django administration. So we need to go to the admin, and here from .models we want to import game, and then admin site register, and we need to pass in the game. So let's save this and let's go back, and over here we already see a hint that pillow is required. So let's quit the development server from running, and yeah, I didn't mention it, but I already created a super user. I already have everything set up except of course the main page, but you already see the Django administration. I'm already logged in, and yeah, it's pretty cool that it actually has a dark theme. We will return to this in just a second. For now, we have quit the development server, so let's install pillow, pip install pillow. All right, and let's run the migration. So Python manage py make migrations, and Python manage py migrate, and Python manage py run server. All right, so the Django administration has now the dark theme, and I think this is because I have a dark theme set up on my operating system. So if I'll change it to light, I think this should change as well. So let's try it out. I'm going to select light, and yeah, it changes. Okay, then I don't know how this works on Windows, but yeah, this is something new, I think, to Django 3.2. To be honest, I didn't look up yet what are the features, the new features, new releases, new changes in the Django 3.2. I'll do that when I have a little bit more time. For now, let's hit refresh, and we have games over here. So as the next step, I have a special task for you. Please prepare some game images. So I already done this. I have a games images folder, and I have here Cyberpunk, FIFA 20, FIFA 21, GTA San Andreas, GTA 5, and The Witcher, okay? And these are the games that I'm going to upload by adding them from over here. So I'm going to press add, and I'm going to put in Cyberpunk. This is going to be CD project red, and then I'm going to select an image. So let's go to, where is it? Game images and Cyberpunk. Let's press save, and here is the cyberpunk object. All right, so I'll do the same with the rest of videos. I'll pause the video right now and we will see each other in a few seconds. Alright guys, welcome back. So I created those objects that you see over here: FIFA 21, FIFA 20, GTA San Andreas, GTA 5, The Witcher, and Cyberpunk. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And right now what I'm going to do is to jump to the views py file of the game's application. So here we will need a few views, actually 3 views, alright? So the first one is going to be the main view, and this will take in a request, and I'm just going to write pass for now. Then we will need the game detail view. So once we find a game and we'll click on it, we will be taken to the detail page. All right, so this will take in a request and a primary key, and for now I'm also going to write pass. And finally we'll need the logic and a view that will return a JSON response. So it will handle the logic of searching for a game, and it will return a JSON response with the results found, or if there aren't any results, we will get a message that none of the games has been found. All right, so I'm just going to name this view search results, and this will take in a request, and let's put in pass. Okay, so let's focus on the main view first. What I'm going to do is to return render, and then let's pass in the request, and we need to provide an information over here, which template is this view referring to. So we are going to go to the games application, and over here we are going to create a templates folder. Inside, let's add another one called games, and let's put in main HTML. Okay, so this main HTML will inherit from base HTML. We'll need to load static because we'll need to link up our script, our main.js. Okay, so we will do this in the block scripts. So for now, I'm just going to leave it empty, and then we will have a block content. And here I'm just going to put in hello world for now. Okay, so let's save this. Let's go back to the views.py file, and let's provide the path to this template over here. So it's going to be games/main HTML. And then let's add an empty dictionary because we aren't passing anything to the template. All right, so let's go ahead and save this views.py file. And then we need to create a URLs.py file in the games application folder. So let's do this very quickly. URLs.py. All right. And here, let's go to some imports from Django URLs. We want to import path. And then let's bring in the views. So from .views, we want to import our main view, our game detail view, and also our search results view. All right, I'm going to set the app name to games, and then I'm going to open up the URL patterns list. And here for now, of course, I'm just going to register the main view, which is going to be, as the name suggests, the main view. So path, and then this is going to be empty because, as mentioned before, this is going to be our main view. So let's pass in the view itself, and the name let's set to main. All right, so let's save this. And right now we actually need to go to our search project, to the URLs.py file, and here we need to include the URL patterns defined in the games application in the main URL patterns, so in the main URLs.py file. So let's do this very quickly. Let's write path, and here I'm just going to write include. So actually I need to import include first. Include. Okay, and then we want to go to games and then URLs. Let's add a namespace, and let's put in games. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. And then right now we shouldn't have this page not found anymore once we refresh the page. Okay, we have hello world. All right, so everything is working. However, if we right click inspect, and if we go to the console, we don't see hello world. First of all, let me make this a little bit bigger. And then let's focus on this problem because we don't see hello world. And this is because of the fact that we didn't link up the scripts. Okay, so we need to do it right now. So in the block scripts, let's put in a script, and then src is equal to, and then let's put in static. All right, and then we need to refer to the main JS. Okay, and we can close off the percent with the curly bracelets. Let's add defer, and let's close up the script. All right, so this now should be working. I'm going to save the main HTML. I'm going to hit refresh, and we have hello world. All right, so as the next step, let's actually add a form over here. Okay, so in order to do this, we need to work a little bit more on our block content. So instead of hello world, we are going to have a div with a class equal to, let's say, W100, and this is a bootstrap class. I'm going to put in text center, and I'm going to close off this div. So inside of this div, we are going to create a form, and I'm going to set an ID of search form, and I'm also going to set autocomplete is equal to off, so we won't see the history of our search results. And then I'm going to close up the form over here, and then let's put in the CSRF token, and let's create an input. This is going to be a type text. Let's add an ID. Let's maybe name this search input like this. And over here, we need to define some classes. So first of all, I'm going to add a padding 3. The width will be 50. And I'm going to use a custom class that I created in the style CSS. So search. Okay, so if we go to style CSS, we have search focus. So if we click on this input, the background color will change. All right, so let's go back to main HTML. Let's close off the input over here, or maybe let's also add a placeholder. And the placeholder will be search for games, and then in example, The Witcher. All right, and yeah, let's save this and let's see how this looks like. So I'm going to hit refresh, and there it is. Okay, so this is a little bit maybe too big. All right, so maybe I'm going to just change the padding. Maybe padding 1 will be enough. Okay, and then I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Search for games. Okay, and as you can see, on focus, the background color changes. Okay, so as the next step, let's return to our main HTML, and here I'm going to add another div, and I'm going to set an ID of results box. And yeah, inside of this div, I'm going to add a class, and we are going to refer to the results card. So again, let's go to style CSS. Over here, we have the results card defined. We have the width, max height, the box shadow, transition, border radius, and padding. Okay, so now that I think about this, we actually can remove this max height. And yeah, this is the results card, and we also are using not visible. So basically, this div won't be visible for now at least. Okay, we have display none. All right, so I think we are done with the main HTML. Let's go back and let's see, what do we have? Yeah, I think we are done. So I'm going to actually put something inside. Okay, we didn't close up the div, and I'm going to put in test. And as mentioned before, we are going to be using the not visible class, but for now, let's just keep it as it is. And I'm going to press enter, and we have this results box over here, so it's not centered. And yeah, the easiest way I think to put it in the center is by adding a style, and I'm just going to put in margin, or we can do it directly in the results card. So let's save this and let's go to the style CSS, and here let's put in margin, and then over here let's put in 0 auto. All right, so let's save this and let's refresh, and there it is. Okay, so initially this results box shouldn't be visible. So let's go to the main HTML. Let's get rid of test, and let's add not visible class. Not visible, like that, visible. All right, let's save this. Let's refresh one more time, and maybe let's clear the cache, Command Shift R. Okay, so the not visible didn't work. Results box not visible. Okay, and this is because I've placed it in the ID, and it should be, of course, in the class. So results card and not visible. Let's save this again. Sorry about this, guys. Let's hit refresh, and now it's gone. Okay. As the next step, let's go to our main.js and let's grab all the elements from main HTML. Okay, so we need the search form, we need the search input, we also need the CSRF token, we need the results box, and yeah, probably that is it. And we'll also need the URL. Okay, so actually we can begin from the URL. So in the main.js, let's define a const URL, and this is going to be window location ref, and let's console log the URL right now. Okay, so let's save this. Let's hit refresh. Okay, it didn't work, so I'm going to clear the cache, Command Shift R, and over here we have the URL. So basically this matches this. Okay, so as the next step, let's add the search form and the search input. So I'm going to put in const search form, and this is going to be document get element by ID, and I'm going to put in search form as we did in the ID of the form. Okay, so in the main HTML, we have a form with an ID search form, and this is how we are grabbing this element by this ID. Okay, so this is a search form, and let's do another one for the search input. Search input is equal to, and then again document get element by ID search input. Okay, so we have an ID search input, and this is how we are grabbing this input. So if we now console log search form, let's save this. We will have a form, and then if we put in search input, let's save this and let's refresh, we will have the input. Perfect. So there's one thing missing, actually two things missing. We need the results box, and we also need the CSRF token. So let's do first the results box. Results box is equal to, and then I'm just going to copy this, paste it, and here let's put in results box. All right, and then we will have a const CSRF, and this is going to be a little bit different. So we need to put in document and then get elements by name, and we need to put in CSRF middleware token. All right, so let's console log CSRF. Let's take a look at what do we have over here. Okay, we have a node list, and if we scroll all the way down to the value, here is our token. Okay, so this is basically our token over here. So what I'm going to do is to simply go back and access this token. So we need to put in 0 and then dot value. And now let's save this. Did I spell this correctly? I think so. Let's hit refresh, and here is our token. All right, so as the next step, we can actually refer to the search input, and in order to have a live search with Ajax, we are going to use a key up event. So let's take a look at how this will work. I'm going to write down search input and then add event listener, and here I'm going to pass in the key up event, and then we will have this event, and we can simply console log target value. All right, so let's see what this will give us. Let's save the main.js. Let's return to the browser. Let's hit refresh, and let's type something. H, and we see HA. Okay, so everything is working. Let's write hello, and as you can see over here, we have hello. So yeah, this is how this is working. Okay, so on the key up, we have target value every time updated, so we can actually see in the console what we are typing in the input. All right. So as the next step, let's actually remove this not visible class on the results box. Okay, so we will do this in this search input add event listener block, and we will do this only if the results block consists of this not visible class. So we need to write an if check. If results box class list and then contains, and we want to put in not visible, and if this is the case, what we are going to do is to simply remove this not visible class. So we need to again refer to the results box class list, and then let's put in remove not visible. Okay, so let's save this. And as you can see right now, we see it. Okay, so if we refresh it again, we start typing, we see this. Okay, so this is working, and now we are going to focus on a function that we are going to create, and we are going to call this function in this block, and this function will be named send search, maybe send search data, something like this, and we will pass in this event target value. All right, so right now we need to create this send search data, which will take something in. It will take in some text, some game text. All right, and let's do this. So I'm going to define it above the search input. Below the CSRF, we can actually get rid of this console log CSRF, and maybe somewhere over here, let's work on this function. So I'm going to create it as an arrow function. And as mentioned before, this will take something in. Okay, here we are passing the event target value. So we are passing some text, some keys related to the game name. So here I'm just going to put in game. All right, and inside we are going to open the Jquery Ajax method. We need to define a couple of things. So the first to define is the type. We are going to work with the post, and then the URL is going to be blank for now. Okay, and the data, we will send the CSRF middleware token. So CSRF middleware token, and to the CSRF middleware token we are going to assign our CSRF variable over here, and then we will set a game, and this is going to be the key which we will pick up in the views.py file, and to this key we are going to assign the game from over here. And as a reminder, this is the event target value. All right, so then as the next step we need to define what will happen on success. So here we can have a function, or we can also have an arrow function, and this success will take in a response. So I'm just going to put in res as a shortcut, and let's put in console log res. Okay, and in case of an error, we will also have an arrow function that will take in an error, and let's just console log the error. All right, so right now we need to work on the URL. We will focus on the success block so we can actually see a response. But first of all, we need to create a view which will return a JSON response so we can see it over here. And this view needs to be registered so we can actually provide the URL. All right, so what I'm going to do is to jump into the game's views.py file, but first I'm going to save the main.js, and we'll need to work this time on the search results. So instead of pass, what I'm going to do is to make an if check, if request is Ajax. All right, then what we are going to do is to get the game. So game is going to be request post get, and we want to get it by the game key. This is what we've set in the main.js. And then let's print the game itself over here. And let's also return a JSON response. So we need to go to Django HTTP. And from here, let's import the JSON response. So let's return JSON response. And let's have a key data. And to this data key, let's for now assign game. All right, so let's also return an empty JSON response if this condition isn't met. Okay, so here let's just put in an empty JSON response. We're not going to worry about this scenario. Okay, let's focus on this part. I'm going to save the views.py file, and I'm going to go to URLs. And right now we are going to register the search results. It actually now returns something, okay? So I'm just going to copy this, put it below, and let's put in search. And let's put in search results. And the name is going to be search. So I'm going to save the URLs.py file, and we need to return to the main.js. And now we can put in search. This is the URL. Okay, so let's save this. Let's hit refresh. And let's see if this will work. Okay, so we have a JSON response over here. And again, and again, and again. Okay, so this is the JSON response that we've set in the view. And over here, we have the game printed. All right, so let's again go to the views.py file. Here we are printing the game, and here it is. All right, And then we are setting return JSON response, and as the data, we are setting the game. And we have it also, here is the event target value, target value, okay? And here is the JSON response with the data, key, and the game. So hopefully this is understandable. So let's do a little bit more in the search results. First of all, what I'm going to do is to define a query set based on this game. All right, so let's write QS is equal to game objects and then filter, and we need to refer to our name field. Okay, so let's write over here inside name, and then double underscore I contains and whatever the game is. So we are assigning the game with the name I contains. Okay, so right now this shouldn't be case sensitive. It doesn't matter if we write it as small or big letters. This should actually give us some results. So let's print the QS right now. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to hit refresh, and then I'm going to start typing V, and we have an internal server error. So let's see, what do we have? Okay, game is not defined. Makes sense, we didn't import the game. So from .models we want to import game. Let's save this, let's hit refresh, and okay, so right now we see the data. However, what's interesting for us is this QS. So as you can see, we have only one result, The Witcher. Okay, and notice that I typed this with a small letter, and we have the result anyways. Okay, and this is because of this I contains. Okay, so let's maybe type FIFA, and what do we have over here? And we have FIFA 20 and FIFA 21. Perfect. Okay, so we need to obviously continue working on this logic. Let me just get rid of this print QS and print game. Okay, so as the next step, we are going to write an if check, a double if check. So if length QS is greater than 0 and the length of the game is greater than 0, what we are going to do is to open an empty data list. And as the next step, we are going to loop through the query set. So we can't pass the query set directly because we will have an error that the game object isn't serializable, something like this. Okay, so instead what we are going to do is to create an item in each iteration of this query set. So I'm going to put in for pause in QS, and here I'm going to create this item dictionary, and I'm going to set a couple of fields. So the primary key is going to be the position primary key. All right, then I'm going to pick up the name, and this is going to be the position dot name. Then let's also add the studio. Okay, so I'm referring to the fields of the game model, okay, the game class. And here we will have the position studio. Okay, and with the image, we are going to put in str and then position image URL. Okay, and finally, what we need to do is to write data append, and we want to pass in this item. So for every position, we are going to create this item, and then we are going to add it to the data list. Okay. All right, so as the next step, let's actually do an else for this if check. So here we will have an else, and for now I'm going to put in pass because initially I'm going to set a variable res to none. And if this is the case over here, if len qs is greater than 0 and the length of the game is greater than 0, what I'm going to do is to simply set res to data. Okay, and in other case, I'm just going to set res to something like no games found. All right, and then instead of returning the JSON response with the data key game, all right, as the value now we are going to pass res. So to the data key we are now assigning res. So let's save this and let's see if this will work or not. Okay, we have an array over here. And what do we have inside of this array? GTA and FIFAs, okay? And this makes sense because those games consist of the A letter, okay? So what I'm going to change over here is the fact that now we want to display not res, but we want to access the data. So I'm going to put in res data. And let's hit refresh, and it didn't work. So let me check if I save this. Yes, I'm going to clear the cache. Okay, let's see now. And there it is. Okay, so right now we have directly the array, and here are the results. Okay, so if I type A again, we have no games found, no games found. And then if I put in the, okay, so here we have the results that consist of the T letter, but then if I add H, we have only one result, and this is The Witcher. Okay, so this is working. And this means that I think we are done with the views.py file, at least for now, because we will have to return to the game detail view. But for now, I think we can focus again on the main.js. And to be more precise, we need to focus on this success block. So what I'm going to do is to define a const data, and this is going to be equal res data. And now we need to check if we are dealing with an array, okay? Because if we take a look at the response that we get, we get either an array or a string. And we want to continue with the logic for displaying the games over here only if we are dealing with an array. So what I'm going to do is to write an if check, and here I'm going to write array, and then is array, and I'm going to pass in the data, okay? And if this is the case, we are going to work on the logic. So I can for now console log we have an array, all right? And then in other case, what we can do directly is to do first of all a check if, and then search input value, and then length is greater than 0. Okay, so if we actually have something written down over here, because we can actually delete this, okay? So if we have something in the search input, what we are going to do is to go to the results box in our HTML, and we are going to maybe use backticks, and in bolded font we are going to display the data. Okay, so the data in this case maybe this isn't a proper name, because the data is a good name for this block. Okay, for this isn't this data isn't that good, because we don't have basically any data of our game objects. We just have a response that there is no games matching. So let's save this and let's see how this will work. Okay, we have an array, so this block was successful, and then we have no games found. All right, and then if we delete this, we still see no games found. So we need to do some additional logic, provide some additional logic in the success block, in the else, and create simply another else for this condition. So if the search input value length isn't greater than 0, so if it is actually 0, so this is what we are defining over here. Else means basically that the search input value length is 0, and as mentioned before, this basically means that the search input is empty. So here we are going to write results box and then class list add, and we are going to add not visible. All right, so let's see how this works right now. I'm going to save this, hit refresh. Okay, and there it is. So now let's focus on this part. So I'm going to get rid of this console log, and instead I'm going to put in data, and we are going to loop through the data with the for each. So at this point we know we are dealing with an array, so we can grab a single game and we can refer to the results box, and we can simply add the results that are inside of the data. So I'm going to use again backticks, and here I'm going to begin with an href. For now I'm going to leave it empty, and then let's close it off over here. Okay, and let's add a class over here to item. So if we go to style CSS, over here is the item, and it basically says that we shouldn't have any text decoration. All right, so let's go back to the main.js, and as the next step, let's add a div with a class equal to row, and maybe let's add some margin top 2 and margin bottom 2, like this. Okay, and let's close off the div over here. Okay, so inside of this row, we are going to add some columns. So first of all, I'm going to put in div class call2, and this is going to be for the image. And then I'm going to copy this, and here we will have 10, and this is going to be for the name. So as a reminder, Bootstrap uses 12 grid system, and 2 plus 10 in one single row, it's equal to 12. Okay, so let's go over here and let's provide the image. So emg src, and this is going to be equal to, and then we need to refer to the game image, like this. Okay, so $, curly bracelets, game image, and remember to use backticks. All right, and then let's put in class is equal to game emg, like this. All right, so let's go again to style CSS, and here is game emg with 50 pixels, height 50 pixels, and we have a border radius. We will see if this border radius will be necessary or not. For now, let's just keep it, and let's return to the main.js. So here we have this class, and I think right now we can focus on the second div with the class called 10. And here we want to display maybe in H5. Let's display here the game name like this. And then let's add a paragraph with a class equal to text muted. So again, this is a bootstrap class. And let's close off the P. And here we will display the studio. So game.studio. All right. And yeah, let's see if this is working or not. I'm going to save this, going to hit refresh, and let's see. Okay, so we have a problem over here, assignment to constant variable, and this is it. So sorry about this stupid mistake. It should be results box inner HTML. So again, let's hit refresh and let's start typing. And there we have the results. Okay, so the problem is now that they are duplicating and we actually don't see the image. So over here we have the game image, and I think I forgot to close off this game image, okay, with a quotation mark. So this might be the problem. And in order to not duplicate the results, we are going to grab this results box inner HTML, and we are going to go to this if array is array data, and above the for loop, we are going to simply set it to blank. And let's try it out one more time. Let's type A, and here we have the results. And then maybe let's add another A, and we have no games found. Okay, I've deleted it. We don't see any results box. And then if I type D, we have 3 positions. The whicher is the only one that consists of the, all right? So this is basically working. Let's try it out one more time. Okay. Yep, it seems to work. However, we aren't able to go to the correct page. If we click on it, we are just taken to the same page. Nothing happens. So what we need to do is to create very quickly a detail page. So in order to do this, I'm going to go to the templates of the games application, and here I'm going to create another one called detail, and let's write detail HTML, which inherits from base HTML. We won't need any static block, or we won't need the block scripts. We just need block content. And now let's save this, and let's go to the views.py file, and let's finish this particular view. So first of all, let's get actually the object based on the primary key. So this is going to be game objects get pk, or let's do it a little bit in a different way. So from Django shortcuts, let's import get object or 404. So here let's put in get object or 404. Let's pass in the game and set the primary key to primary key, just like this. Okay, and then let's return render. We need to pass in the request, the path to the template, so games, and then detail HTML, and this time we will pass the object to the template. So here I'm going to set the key obj, and to this key obj I'm going to assign this obj value, this variable over here. Okay, so right now we can actually save this, and as the next step we just need to put this obj name inside of the detail HTML. So in the block content, let's add h3 maybe, and over here let's put in obj.name All right, so let's save this, and now we need to go to the main.js and refer to this href. So we need to put in the URL, all right, and then we need to refer to the game PK. So I'm just going to copy this and put it next to the URL. So here, instead of the game image, we will have game primary key, because if we take a look at the views.py file, we also set the PK key over here. So we can do this. Let's save it. And actually, in order for this to work, we still need to register the view, the detail view. We forgot about this. So I'm going to copy this line of code, and then I'm just going to paste it. Here we will have the primary key, and we will have the game detail view, and I'll set the name as detail. Let's save this. Let's hit refresh, and let's try to click on the GTA 5, and we are taken to the GTA 5 page. So everything is working, and yeah, I think we can finish off over here. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and hopefully we will see each other in the next one. So I think this was the last video in this Django and JavaScript tutorial series, at least for some time. But yeah, pretty cool content is coming up. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you love Python, please subscribe, and we will see each other in the next one. Have a great day, and bye-bye.